Most people come to trading believing profitability is something you achieve, a destination you reach after enough screen time, enough indicators, enough painful lessons. They believe that once they find the right strategy, the right market, or the right mentor, profits will finally arrive and stay. But the market doesn't reward effort, it doesn't reward intelligence, and it certainly doesn't reward desire. The market responds only to behavior, specifically, consistent behavior aligned with uncertainty. Profitable traders aren't special because they predict better. They're different because they operate from different habits. Habits that neutralize fear, habits that prevent emotional sabotage, habits that allow them to execute when everything inside them wants to hesitate, interfere, or force an outcome. Losses don't destroy traders. Inconsistent behavior does. And inconsistent behavior is never about the market. It's about what happens inside you when the market doesn't do what you want. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. You don't become profitable by trying harder. You become profitable by installing habits that remove your need to try at all. Most traders believe that the pain they experience in the market comes from losing money. It doesn't. The real pain comes from resisting the fact that outcomes are random. The market itself is neutral. Price moves without intent, without memory, without concern for who you are or what you believe should happen next. And yet most traders approach each trade as if the market owes them something, as if a good analysis deserves a good result. That silent expectation is where the conflict begins. Random outcomes are not a flaw in trading. They are the foundation of it. Every edge, no matter how robust, expresses itself across a series of trades, not in any single moment. But the human mind isn't wired to think in series. It wants immediate validation. It wants certainty now. It wants to feel safe before acting. And the market will never give you that safety. It will only offer opportunity wrapped in uncertainty. When a trader hasn't made peace with randomness, every trade becomes emotionally loaded. The entry carries hope, the stop carries fear, the target carries relief. And the moment price hesitates or pulls back, the trader's mind begins searching for meaning. Why is this happening? Did I miss something? What if this one fails? These questions don't arise because something is wrong with the trade. They arise because the trader is still trying to control the outcome. Control is an illusion in trading. You can control risk. You can control position size. You can control whether you follow your rules. But you cannot control whether the next trade will be a winner or a loser. The moment you accept that, not intellectually but emotionally, everything changes. The trade stops being a referendum on your intelligence, your discipline, or your self-worth. It becomes simply one event in a long series of probabilistic outcomes. Most traders say they accept losses, but their behavior tells a different story. They hesitate to enter after a losing streak. They move stops to avoid being wrong. They take profits early to lock in certainty. These behaviors are symptoms of resistance to randomness. They are attempts to escape discomfort, not to execute an edge. And every time a trader acts from that resistance, they reinforce fear rather than dissolve it. Peace with random outcomes doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop needing a specific outcome to feel okay. It means you've already accepted the worst-case scenario before entering the trade. You've already paid the emotional cost. When the risk is truly accepted, fear has nothing to protect. There's no internal debate, there's no urgency, there's no impulse to interfere. This is why defining risk is so critical, not just technically, but psychologically. When you define risk and genuinely accept it, you are saying, I am willing to lose this amount, and my identity will remain intact. That statement removes pressure from the trade. And pressure is what causes traders to sabotage themselves at the most important moments. Randomness also means that winning streaks don't mean you're suddenly better, and losing streaks don't mean you're suddenly worse. They are statistical clusters, nothing more. Traders who haven't accepted this ride emotional highs during wins and emotional lows during losses. Their confidence fluctuates with results. Profitable traders don't allow that. Their confidence comes from something much more stable, their ability to execute regardless of outcome. Once you make peace with randomness, you stop trying to predict. Prediction is a subtle form of control. It's the mind's way of reducing uncertainty by creating a narrative about what should happen next. But the market doesn't follow narratives. It follows order flow, liquidity, and participation, none of which care about your story. When you release the need to predict, you free your mind to observe instead of judge. Observation is calm. Judgment is emotional. A trader at peace with randomness can watch price move against them without panic, not because they're numb, but because nothing unexpected is happening. Losses were already included in the plan. They can watch price move in their favor without euphoria because they know the trade isn't over until it's over. Emotional neutrality becomes possible only when outcomes are no longer personalized. Personalization is the hidden enemy. When traders say, "I was wrong," what they often mean is, "I failed." But being wrong in trading is not a failure. It's a statistical necessity. You cannot participate in probabilistic environments without being wrong frequently. The only failure is allowing being wrong to change your behavior. Peace with randomness allows you to stay consistent. Consistency allows probabilities to work. And probabilities over time are what create profitability. This acceptance doesn't arrive through positive thinking. It arrives through repetition and honesty, through taking trades exactly as planned, through sitting with discomfort without acting on it, through watching losses occur without trying to immediately make the money back. Each time you do this, you weaken the association between loss and danger. Your nervous system learns that nothing catastrophe. IC happens when a trade fails. Eventually, something subtle but profound occurs. You stop flinching, you stop rushing, you stop forcing. The market no longer feels like an adversary, it feels like an environment, one that offers opportunity to those who can remain aligned with it. Traders who never make peace with randomness are always slightly tense. They're always leaning forward emotionally, trying to anticipate, trying to protect, trying to be right. Traders who accept randomness lean back. They allow trades to unfold, they respond instead of react. This is why peace with randomness is not passive, it's powerful. It's the foundation of confidence that doesn't collapse under pressure. Confidence not based on recent results, but on self-trust. The trust that you will execute your plan regardless of what the last trade did. And when you reach that point, the market no longer controls your emotional state. Wins don't inflate you. Losses don't deflate you. You remain stable, present, clear. That clarity is what most traders are actually searching for, not money. Money is just the byproduct of clarity expressed through consistent behavior. Make peace with random outcomes, and you stop fighting reality. When you stop fighting reality, your energy is no longer consumed by fear. And when fear steps aside, discipline is no longer forced. It becomes natural. That is when trading stops being a struggle and starts becoming a process. A process that, over time, rewards those who can accept uncertainty without resistance and act decisively in its presence. Most traders believe their biggest challenge is the market. It isn't. The real challenge is what happens inside them the moment money is on the line. Before the trade, everything feels logical. The setup is clear. The rules make sense. The plan looks solid. But as soon as price starts moving, logic fades and emotion takes over. Fear whispers caution. Hope encourages delay. Excitement urges action. And suddenly, the trader is no longer executing a plan. They're negotiating with their feelings. Feelings were never designed to operate in probabilistic environments. They evolved to keep us safe, to avoid danger, to seek certainty. The market offers none of those things. It offers uncertainty, risk, and incomplete information. When traders allow feelings to guide decisions in this environment, they inevitably create inconsistency. And inconsistency is the enemy of profitability. Profitable traders understand something early that most never fully accept. You cannot feel your way to consistent results. Feelings are reactions, not strategies. They change from moment to moment, influenced by recent wins, recent losses, and even things that have nothing to do with trading at all. If your decisions are tied to how you feel, your behavior will never be stable enough for an edge to express itself. This is why rules exist. Not to restrict freedom, but to protect clarity. Rules are externalized decisions. They are choices made in calm, rational moments and followed in emotional ones. When a trader commits to rules, they are saying, "I will not trust how I feel in the heat of the moment. I will trust the structure I built when I was thinking clearly." That commitment is what separates professionals from amateurs. Trading without rules feels flexible, but it's actually chaotic. Each trade becomes a unique emotional experience. One loss feels manageable, another feels unacceptable. One win feels satisfying, another feels insufficient. Without rules, the trader is constantly adjusting behavior based on emotional feedback, not market structure. Over time, this erodes confidence because the trader can never tell whether results came from skill or impulse. Profitable traders remove that ambiguity. Their rules define what a valid opportunity looks like, when risk is invalidated, and when the trade is over. There is no debate at entry, no improvisation at exit, no second guessing in between. Lists don't predict outcomes, they govern behavior. Most traders resist rules because they fear losing opportunity. They think rigid rules will cause them to miss trades. In reality, rules prevent the far more damaging habit of emotional interference. Missed trades cost nothing. Emotional mistakes compound quickly. One move stop leads to a larger loss. One early exit reduces expectancy. One revenge trade breaks discipline entirely. Rules don't remove emotion, but they reduce its authority. Fear may still show up, but it no longer gets to vote. Excitement may still arise, but it doesn't override the plan. Profitable traders feel everything and act anyway, exactly as the rules dictate. This is where true discipline comes from. Discipline is not willpower. Willpower is unreliable and exhausting. Discipline emerges naturally when rules are simple, clear, and repeatedly followed. The brain learns through repetition. Each time a trader follows rules despite discomfort, they reinforce trust in the process. Over time, execution becomes automatic. Automatic execution is critical because hesitation is costly. The market moves quickly and opportunities don't wait for emotional certainty. Traders who rely on feelings hesitate at entries, adjust exits, and constantly question themselves. Traders who rely on rules act decisively because the decision has already been made. Another key shift occurs when traders stop using feelings as feedback. Many traders evaluate trades based on how they felt during them. If they felt stressed, they assume something was wrong. If they felt calm, they assume they did well. But emotions are not reliable indicators of quality. A perfectly executed trade can feel uncomfortable. A poorly executed trade can feel exciting. Profitable traders evaluate themselves on one metric only: did I follow my rules? This single standard simplifies everything. Wins and losses become secondary. The trader's focus moves from outcome management to behavior management, and behavior is something you can actually control. Rules also create consistency across time. Markets change, volatility shifts, conditions evolve. Feelings react instantly to these changes, often in unhelpful ways. Rules, however, provide a stable framework that allows the trader to adapt without becoming reactive. Adjustments are made deliberately, outside of live trading, based on data, not impulse. The longer a trader trades rules instead of feelings, the quieter the emotional noise becomes. Fear loses its urgency because it no longer influences action. Hope fades because it's no longer needed. Confidence stabilizes because it's no longer dependent on recent results. The trader stops being emotionally dragged around by the market. This doesn't mean trading becomes easy, becomes clean. Losses are clean, wins are clean. There's no regret, no self-blame, no lingering doubt. Each trade is simply another execution of a process. Many traders confuse intuition with emotion. True. Intuition is built on experience and pattern recognition, not on fear or excitement. But intuition only becomes reliable after years of consistent rule-based execution. Until then, what feels like intuition is often just emotion wearing a convincing disguise. Profitable traders earn the right to trust intuition by first mastering rules. At its core, trading rules are a form of self-respect. They represent a boundary between impulsive desire and deliberate action. By following rules, traders demonstrate trust in their long-term vision rather than their short-term feelings. The market will always provoke emotion. That will never change. What changes is who's in control. When feelings are in charge, the trader reacts. When rules are in charge, the trader responds. And that difference, reaction versus response, is the difference between inconsistency and profitability. Trade rules, not feelings, and you remove the biggest source of self-sabotage from your trading. The market becomes dramatic, your mind becomes more stable, and profitability stops being something you chase. It becomes the natural outcome of disciplined, repeatable behavior over time. Most traders enter the market searching for certainty. They want confirmation. They want assurance. They want to know before they commit money that the trade will work. This desire feels reasonable, even responsible. After all, risk feels safer when the outcome appears predictable. But the market is not a place of certainty. It is a place of probabilities. And the moment a trader demands certainty from a probabilistic environment, they place themselves in constant psychological conflict. The market never tells you what will happen next. It only offers information about what tends to happen over time. Price does not move because it should. It moves because participants act, react, hesitate, and commit capital in ways that cannot be known in advance. Profitable traders understand this deeply. They stop asking, "Will this trade work?" and start asking, "Does this trade fit my edge?" That shift changes everything. Certainty-based thinking attaches meaning to individual outcomes. When traders believe a setup should work, a loss feels like a violation. It feels personal. It triggers frustration, self-doubt, and often revenge trading. The trader starts modifying behavior, not because the edge changed, but because confidence was shaken by an outcome that was never guaranteed in the first place. Probabilistic thinking removes that emotional weight. A losing trade is not evidence of failure, it is evidence that probability is functioning as expected. No edge produces wins on every attempt. Every edge produces a distribution of outcomes. Profitable traders commit to that distribution, not to individual trades. This is why they can remain calm through losing streaks. They don't interpret a series of losses as a signal that something is broken. They understand that even the best edges experience variance. The market clusters wins and losses unpredictably. Only traders who think in probabilities can remain consistent long enough for their edge to express itself. Most traders sabotage themselves by abandoning a strategy too early. They experience a few losses and conclude that the approach no longer works, or worse, that they themselves are incapable. This reaction is rooted in certainty seeking. They expected results to validate them quickly. When that validation doesn't arrive, they look for something new. Profitable traders do the opposite. They stay aligned with their process. They know that certainty is a psychological craving, not a market principle. They trade because conditions meet predefined criteria, not because they feel confident the trade will win. Confidence for them doesn't come from predicti. It comes from statistical trust. Trust built through repetition, data, and consistent execution. Each trade is simply one sample in a large set. Its outcome by itself is meaningless. When traders focus on certainty, they also distort risk. They take larger positions on trades they feel good about and smaller ones when doubt creeps in. This behavior destroys expectancy. It introduces emotional bias into position sizing. Profitable traders eliminate this by treating every trade as equally uncertain. Risk is constant, size is consistent, there are no special trades. This is one of the hardest habits to adopt because the mind wants exceptions. It wants to believe that sometimes it knows more, sometimes it's more certain, but the market punishes that belief ruthlessly. Every time a trader breaks rules because a trade looks perfect, they're reminded that perfection is an illusion. Probabilistic focus also changes how traders experience winning. Wins don't create euphoria. They don't lead to overconfidence. They don't cause reckless behavior. A win is simply one favorable outcome in a sequence. It doesn't prove anything. It doesn't justify breaking rules on the next trade. Emotional balance is preserved because meaning is not attached to short-term results. This emotional neutrality is powerful. It allows traders to continue executing even after a big win or a painful loss. Most traders become distorted by extremes. They either feel invincible or defeated. Profitable traders remain centered because their reference point is not the last trade, it's the long-term edge. Thinking in probabilities also requires patience. Edges do not express themselves on demand. They unfold over time. Traders who need certainty rush. They overtrade, they force setups, they chase movement. Traders who accept probabilities wait. They understand that missing trades is part of the process. There will always be another opportunity. The market rewards patience because patience prevents emotional exhaustion. Traders who are constantly seeking certainty burn out. They spend enormous mental energy trying to analyze, predict, and control. Probabilistic traders conserve that energy. They act when conditions align and do nothing when they don't. Doing nothing becomes a strategic choice, not a failure. Another critical shift occurs in how traders evaluate themselves. Certainty-focused traders judge themselves by how often they're right. Probabilistic traders judge themselves by how consistently they execute. Being right becomes irrelevant. Following the process becomes everything. This is liberating. It removes the pressure to perform on every trade. It allows traders to show up, execute, and walk away without emotional residue. Over time, this consistency compounds. Small edges applied repeatedly without interference produce meaningful results. The market is an uncertain environment by nature. Those who demand certainty will always feel anxious. Those who embrace probability feel aligned. They stop fighting the market and start working with it. This is the paradox of profitable trading. The more comfortable you become with not knowing what will happen next, the more consistent your results become. Certainty promises comfort but delivers frustration. Probability accepts discomfort and delivers stability. When traders focus on probabilities instead of certainty, fear loses its grip. There is nothing to fear when no single outcome matters. There is only execution, and execution, repeated over time, is what turns uncertainty into opportunity and opportunity to profitability. In the end, the market does not reward those who are most certain. It rewards those who are most consistent. And consistency is only possible when you stop trying to know the future and start respecting the mathematics of uncertainty. Profitability is not the result of intelligence, prediction, or effort. It is the result of alignment. When you accept random outcomes, follow rules instead of feelings, and commit to probabilities rather than certainty, the market stops being a psychological struggle. You no longer fight what you cannot control. You focus on what you can, execution. Over time, this consistency allows your edge to emerge naturally. The market doesn't reward emotional intensity or confidence in being right. It rewards calm, repeatable behavior. When your habits align with uncertainty, profits stop being forced and start becoming inevitable.